Jack Carr, the so-called demon of Wall Street, had it all. And then I died. A massive coronary, right at my Bloomberg terminal. My reward for a lifetime of ruthless ambition. I woke up as a different Jack Carr, a worthless, live-in husband married into a billion-dollar dynasty. The first thing I saw was her. Amelia Hayes, the Ice Queen CEO, my wife in this bizarre new life. She sat across from me in a stark white pantsuit, her dark hair pulled back in a severe, elegant bun. Her eyes held the same warmth as a glacier. She slid a document across the polished mahogany of the desk. Her voice was as crisp and cold as the paper. Jack, sign it. It's the divorce agreement. A beat of silence. Then pure, unadulterated joy exploded in my mind. Sign it? I'll tattoo my signature on it. The golden parachute I never had is finally deployed. In my last life, I'd built a net worth in the tens of billions and never had a single day to enjoy it. My calendar was a hell's cape of back-to-back meetings. Now, fate had handed me a do-over. I snatched the agreement, my eyes jumping straight to the settlement clause. The undersigned, Jack Carr, hereby waives all claims to marital assets. In consideration, Amelia Hayes will provide a one-time cash payment of $10 million. $10 million. My hand actually trembled. $10 million. I could live off the interest alone. No more wake-up calls, no more stress vomiting before market open. Just yachts, parties, and a life of glorious, unapologetic sloth. Amelia Hayes, you absolute angel. I reached for the pen, ready to scrawl my name and ride off into the sunset. Amelia, still sitting perfectly straight, showed the first crack in her icy facade, a slight furrowing of her brow. She heard me. Oh yes, she could hear every single thought in my head. It was a secret she alone possessed. I, the source of the broadcast, was blissfully unaware. To her, my 2 years of meek, agreeable silence in this marriage had all been a charade. Now, at the end, I was showing my true, greedy colors. Only $10 million to be satisfied? Already dreaming of parties? The temperature in the room dropped another 10 degrees. Just as the pen was about to touch the paper, I stopped. Wait a second. This contract is a trap. $10 million, but it's pre-tax. After the feds and the state take their cut, I'll be lucky to see 6. Hayes Industries is a Fortune 500 company. What kind of garbage legal department can't structure a simple tax advantage settlement? Amateurs. Whatever. $6 million is $6 million. A bird in the hand and all that. Just sign the damn thing and get out of here. My new life as a professional beach bum awaits. I readjusted my grip on the pen, but Amelia's hand shot out, pressing down on the document. Wait. I looked up, plastering a mask of innocent confusion on my face. What's wrong, Amelia? Is the amount not right? If you think it's too much, I can take less, really. 5 will be fine. I was the picture of a man willing to sacrifice his own interests, the perfect kept husband. Grab my hand. Stop me from signing. Tell me you made a mistake, and you'll make it 20 million. No, too obvious. Just make it 10 million, post-tax. Please, for the love of God. Her fingers, pressing down on the paper, were white at the knuckles. Her expression was a complicated storm. She'd heard it all. My precise, ruthless critique of her company's legal department. Pre-tax, post-tax. She hadn't even thought to check. Her lawyers had drafted it. She'd confirmed the number, and that was it. This man, her husband, who for 2 years had acted like he couldn't balance a checkbook, was mentally calculating capital gains tax rates and calling her legal team garbage. Amelia took a slow, deep breath. She pulled her hand back, taking the agreement with it. There's a problem with this agreement. It was drafted carelessly, she said, her voice betraying nothing. My assistant will have a new version for you tomorrow. My stomach plummeted. Are you kidding me? The cooked goose just flew away. Tomorrow? Anything could happen by tomorrow. What for family objects? My 10 million just went up in smoke. I forced a smile that felt more like a grimace. Amelia, it's fine, really. This one is perfect. I trust you, and I trust your company's lawyers. There won't be any problems. She looked at my sincere face, listened to the frantic screaming in my head, and for the first time, a flicker of genuine curiosity entered her eyes. Was he really this clueless, or was this an act? If it was an act, what was his endgame after 2 years of playing the fool? I said there's a problem. Amelia stated, her tone leaving no room for argument. "You'll stay here tonight. We'll settle this tomorrow." With that, she turned, the click of her heels on the hardwood floor echoing as she left the study. I was left alone, staring at the empty space on the desk. My $10 million. My private island. My yacht party's gone. Grown wings and flown away. The next morning, I was in the middle of a dream about driving a Ferrari down the Pacific Coast Highway when my phone buzzed violently on the nightstand. It was Amelia's assistant, Sarah. "Mr. Carr, Ms. Hayes needs you to come to the office right away." I groaned, rolling over. "The office? Why? Can't we sign the papers at home? Does she really need to drag me, a future multimillionaire, all the way downtown?" Corporate drones and their power trips. Despite my internal whining, I dragged myself out of bed and put on the cheapest set of casual clothes I owned. Had to maintain the image of the dependent husband, after all. Wearing anything too nice might raise suspicions. I took an Uber to the Hayes Industries Tower, a monolithic spike of glass and steel that clawed at the Manhattan sky. TSK. Impressive on the outside, but rotten to the core. Hayes Industries has overextended itself the last 2 years, diversifying into sectors they know nothing about. Their credit lines must be stretched to the breaking point. If it wasn't for old man Hayes' reputation, the banks would have called in their loans ages ago. This building is just an empty shell. I shook my head and walked inside. The receptionist gave me a look dripping with disdain, but managed a professional smile. "Mr. Carr, Ms. Hayes is waiting for you in the 32nd floor conference room." I nodded and got in the elevator. The moment the doors opened on the 32nd floor, I could feel the tension. The hallway was crowded with people in dark suits, all of them looking grim. I saw Sarah, Amelia's assistant, frantically talking on her phone. She spotted me, hung up, and rushed over. "Mr. Carr, you're finally here. Ms. Hayes is waiting." She practically shoved me into the conference room. A massive oval table was surrounded by the company's board members and top executives. Amelia sat at the head, her face even colder than yesterday. Across from her, a slick-haired young man was lounging in his chair, radiating arrogance. "Come on, Amelia, stop fighting it," he sneered. "The Astoria waterfront project is a black hole. You've already sunk $200 million into it with nothing to show. I'm offering you $210 for the whole mess. I'm letting you cut your losses. It's a generous offer." The man was Leo Vance, son of the founder of Vance Capital, Hayes Industries' biggest rival. As I walked in, every head turned towards me. Leo Vance laughed openly. Well, if it isn't the famous Mr. Amelia Hayes, bringing your mascot to a board meeting, Amelia." A ripple of suppressed chuckles went around the room. Amelia's face darkened. She had intended for me to come sign the new divorce papers in the downtime between meetings. She never expected Leo Vance to storm in like this, launching a hostile bid for the Astoria project. That project was the company's biggest gamble this year. If it failed, it could drag the entire corporation down with it. She was under unimaginable pressure and had no time for me. I was left standing awkwardly by the door, the idiot in the room. What is this? A scene from soap opera? A corporate raid? Is this Leo guy an idiot? The Astoria project looks like a money pit now, but it's right next to the site for the city's new planned tech campus. Once that plan is officially announced, property values will go up tenfold. Someone on his team has a source in city planning. I wandered aimlessly around the room, my eyes landing on the project blueprints pinned to the wall. But he's made one critical miscalculation. The tech campus is a great long-term play, but Hayes needs cash flow now. The biggest problem with this project isn't the location, it's the concept. Luxury condos? The whole area is going to be office buildings and startups. Who's going to buy multi-million-dollar condos there? Only a fool. If it were me, I'd scrap the condos and turn it into a mixed-use commercial space. First floor for high-end streetwear and pop-ups. Second floor for a massive food hall. Third for a movie theater, and the fourth floor. A massive indoor family adventure park, the biggest in the city. You'd pull in all the tech workers from the new campus and all the families from the surrounding boroughs. It would be printing money within 3 years. Too bad for Amelia. She's still too young, too conventional, sitting on a gold mine and trying to sell dirt. I finished my internal TED Talk, found a chair in the corner, and prepared to take a nap. At the head of the table, Amelia's eyes were getting brighter and brighter. Listening to my delusional rambling was like a bolt of lightning cutting through the fog. A mixed-use commercial space, a family adventure park, drawing in tech workers and families. These were ideas her team had never even considered. They'd been stuck in a luxury condo mindset. Leo was still pressing his advantage. So, what's it going to be, Amelia? I don't have all day. Amelia suddenly looked up, her gaze as sharp as a razor. Mr. Vance, thank you for your generous offer. However, the Astoria waterfront project is not for sale. Leo froze. Not only is it not for sale, Amelia continued, standing up, her voice calm but powerful. We are doubling our investment and repositioning the entire project. This site will become the city's new commercial and entertainment landmark. She walked to the blueprints, picked up a marker, and, following the exact blueprint in my mind, began circling areas. This section will be converted into the family adventure park. This entire wing will be a food hall. We will be targeting. Amelia spoke with effortless authority, repeating my internal monologue almost verbatim, but layering it with more professional detail and market analysis. The entire room was silent. Everyone stared, stunned by her audacious and brilliantly logical vision. The look on Leo Vance's face shifted from arrogance to shock, and finally, to a deep, bruised purple. He knew he'd lost. This woman, by some miracle, had found the project's fatal flaw and turned it into its greatest strength. He shot to his feet. Fine. Amelia, I can't wait to watch you drive this company into the ground, he spat before storming out with his entourage. The conference room erupted in thunderous applause. The executives looked at Amelia with awe, cheering for her stunning turnaround. Only Amelia's gaze cut through the crowd, landing on the man in the corner who was just about to doze off. Her eyes were filled with a shock and confusion she had never felt before. This man, who was he? After the meeting, Sarah escorted me to Amelia's office. It was a corner suite with a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the city. Amelia stood with her back to me, her silhouette looking almost fragile against the sprawling metropolis. Sit, she said without turning. I sat on the plush leather couch, my heart starting to pound. What's going on? Where are the papers? Is she mad I didn't back her up in the meeting? But I'm the loser husband. If I'd opened my mouth, I would have just embarrassed her. Women, impossible to understand. Amelia turned around. In her hand was a new file folder. My eyes lit up. Here we go. My $10 million post-tax. She walked over and placed the folder on the coffee table in front of me. Read it. I eagerly flipped it open, going straight to the last page. The compensation section. It read, the undersigned, Jack Carr, waives all claims to marital assets. In consideration, Amelia Hayes will transfer 5% of her founding shares in Hayes Industries, held in a private trust, to Jack Carr. I blinked. I read again. My hands were shaking more than they had yesterday. 5% of the company? Is she insane? Hayes Industries has a market cap of at least $10 billion. 5% is $500 million. She's giving me $500 million? No, it's a trick. It has to be. She knows the company is on the ropes. She knows the Astoria project is still a massive gamble. She's giving me stock to tie me to this sinking ship. When the company goes bankrupt, my $500 million will be worthless paper. What a vicious woman. I don't want stock. I want cash. 10 million. Post-tax. I looked up at her, my face a mask of manufactured horror, and pushed the folder back towards her. Amelia, I can't take this. It's too much. I haven't done anything for this family. How can I take a piece of your company? I just need a little compensation to get back on my feet. I held up my index finger, trying to look meek and pitiful. 10 million. Just give me the 10 million. I'm begging you. Amelia watched my terrified performance, listened to the desperate screams in my head, and the corner of her mouth twitched into a barely perceptible smile. It was the first time I'd seen her smile all day. She was certain now. This man wasn't acting. He genuinely had no idea how brilliant he was. He was like a forgotten spy who had the launch codes to a nuclear arsenal but only wanted to use them to light a cigarette. Interesting. Very interesting. You're right. You haven't done anything for this family, Amelia said, sitting across from me, crossing her legs, the Ice Queen persona firmly back in place. But starting today, I need you to... Alarm bells went off in my head. It's happening. She's dragging me into this mess. No way. I just want to retire. Amelia, I don't know how to do anything, I stammered, putting on my best simpleton act. I can cook, I can clean a little. That's about it. Is that so? She said, raising a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. I heard you majored in finance in college. The original Jack Carr had indeed gotten a finance degree from some mediocre state school before marrying into the Hayes family and forgetting everything he'd ever learned. But I wasn't the original Jack Carr. Finance? That was my entire life. Back on the street, I cut the thought short. No, can't think about that. What if she gets suspicious? What if she realizes I'm not the same person? I have to keep playing the part of a useless idiot. I scratched my head and gave a goofy grin. Yeah, a little. But I think I returned all that knowledge to the professors. I can't even read a stock chart these days. Amelia just stared at me, saying nothing. The silence in the office was deafening. I started to sweat under her gaze. What does she want? Did she figure out I was eavesdropping in the meeting? No way. I was sitting in the corner. How could she know what I heard? Wait. Can she read minds? The thought was so absurd, I almost laughed out loud. Nah, I've been reading too many fantasy novels. Just as my mind was spiraling, Amelia finally spoke. Starting tomorrow, you'll work at the company. Huh, I was floored. As my special assistant. Me? I pointed at my own chest. No way, Amelia. I can't. I really don't know anything. Are you kidding me? A job? I haven't had enough of working in my past life. I'd rather die again. You can, she said, standing up and looking down at me, her voice absolute. You have two choices. 1, you sign the stock agreement and come work for me. 2, you walk out of here with nothing. Not a single penny. I was completely and utterly stunned. What kind of logic is that? From 10 million to 500 million to zero? This woman changes her mind faster than the stock market. She's bluffing. It has to be a bluff. We have a prenup. Even if we divorce, I'm entitled to something. She's trying to call my bluff. I decided to take the gamble. I stuck my chin out, trying to look dignified. I choose the second option. Amelia looked at me, and for a second, I saw a flash of admiration in her eyes. He's got guts. Not even tempted by $500 million. It seems he isn't motivated by money. Then she heard the rest of my inner monologue. As soon as I stick to my guns, she'll soften up. She'll bring back the $10 million deal. I know her type. Ice queen on the outside, soft on the inside. It's a classic negotiation tactic. I got this. The admiration on Amelia's face vanished, replaced by a cold fury. She laughed, a short, sharp, humorless sound. Fine. Sarah, show Mr. Carr out and notify the legal department. We're filing for divorce. Grounds will be adultery and fraudulent transfer of assets. I felt the blood drain from my face. Adultery? Transfer of assets? What assets? The most valuable thing I own is the phone in my pocket. This is slander. Libel. I shot to my feet, my voice cracking. Amelia, you can't do that. Why can't I? She stepped closer, her eyes boring into mine. Did you really think I didn't know what you were plotting? Don't play games with me, Jack. My patience has its limits. Staring into those freezing, all-knowing eyes, I felt a genuine spike of fear for the first time. It was like she could see right through me, into the very core of my soul. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead. Oh God, what if she really can read my mind? In the end, I folded. Under the combined pressure of a $500 million incentive and the threat of total financial annihilation, I signed the stock transfer agreement with a trembling hand. The next day, I was forced into a brand new tailored suit and chauffeured to the office in Amelia's Rolls-Royce to begin my career as special assistant to the CEO. It was a title that sounded important, but meant I did absolutely nothing. Amelia gave me my own office, right next to hers. My daily task consisted of, well, there were no tasks. I just sat there, drinking tea, reading the news, and playing games on my phone. Isn't this the dream? A quiet place to do nothing, and I'm even getting paid for it. Amelia Hayes, you're not so bad after all. I settled into my new routine of professional loafing. I had no idea, however, that my leisurely existence was being interpreted very differently by everyone else. Did you hear? That useless husband is working here now. Worse, he's the CEO's special assistant. His office is right next to hers. On what grounds? All he does is live off her money. Chill, keep your voice down. I heard that in the board meeting yesterday, He was the one who gave Ms. Hayes the idea that sent Leo Vance packing. No way. Him. It's true. He was in the room. They said Ms. Hayes came up with that genius plan right after looking at him. Suddenly, the office gossip transformed me from a pathetic freeloader into a mysterious, behind-the-scenes Svengali. I, of course, was oblivious to all of it. I was busy watching a dumb comedy on my laptop, headphones on, laughing like an idiot. The door to my office swung open. Amelia walked in, followed by stone-faced Sarah and a few department heads. I ripped my headphones off and shot to my feet. Crap, a surprise inspection. Good thing my Alt-Tab game is strong. Amelia glanced at me, but said nothing. She placed a thick binder on my desk. Look at this. I picked it up. It was the detailed redevelopment plan for the Astoria waterfront project. It was a beautiful proposal, a perfect execution of the thoughts I'd had in the conference room, with even more granular detail. Not bad. These guys are quick. They put this whole thing together in a day. Still, it's got flaws. As I scanned the pages, my mind immediately started picking it apart. The fire safety rating for the family park is too low. The ventilation design for the food hall is a disaster. It'll smoke out the floors above. And their retail leasing strategy is too narrow. They're only targeting big luxury brands. The rent will be astronomical, and it won't have any Gen Z appeal. They need to bring in a mix of cult streetwear brands and up-and-coming designers. Create an incubator for cool. My mind raced with a dozen improvements, but my face remained a blank slate of polite confusion. I closed the binder and handed it back to her with a placid smile. Looks great, Amelia. You guys did an amazing job. Amelia said nothing. Behind her, the department heads looked like they wanted to strangle me. They had pulled 3 all-nighters to produce this plan, and my only feedback was looks great. One of the VPs couldn't help himself. Mr. Carr, do you perhaps have any differing opinions? I waved my hands dismissively. No, not at all. Who am I to have an opinion? You're the experts. Whatever you say goes. Please leave. You're interrupting my movie. Amelia gave me one last, long look before taking the binder. Scrap the entire plan. Do it over, she said coldly. The faces of the executives turned ashen. Ms. Hayes, but fire safety, ventilation, and retail leasing. All of it is wrong, Amelia said, her eyes sweeping over them. I want a new proposal on my desk in 24 hours. If you can't deliver, you could deliver your resignations to HR. She turned and left without another word. The executives stood there shell-shocked. They couldn't fathom what was so fundamentally wrong with their perfect plan. Their desperate eyes turned to me. I just shrugged, holding up my hands in a gesture of helplessness. Don't look at me. I don't know anything. Your boss is a perfectionist. Not my problem. Once they were gone, I put my headphones back on and resumed my movie. In the office next door, Amelia was at a whiteboard, her pen flying across its surface. Fire safety, ventilation, retail, streetwear, incubator. Sarah stood by, watching her boss with something approaching religious awe. It was as if Ms. Hayes had tapped into some higher plane of consciousness, her strategic thinking reaching a level no one had ever seen before. She had no idea that higher plane of consciousness was currently giggling at a cat video next door. Over the next few days, I became the company's official mascot. I'd show up, clock in, and then proceed to do absolutely nothing in my office. Amelia, meanwhile, would find various excuses to bring me documents, proposals, and market reports to look over. Each time, I would mentally tear the document to shreds, pointing out every flaw and missed opportunity, while externally giving her a thumbs up and a bland, "Looks good to me." And each time, she would take my silent feedback and use it to send her teams into a frenzy of overtime. The legends about me in the office grew more and more elaborate. I was the silent master, the oracle in khakis, the wise fool who guided the company with his zen-like presence. I was just trying to decide what to order for lunch. I was scrolling through a food delivery app, torn. The pepperoni pizza is too greasy, but I'm sick of Chinese. Maybe I'll splurge on some decent sushi today. My door opened again. This time, it was Amelia, with her arrogant younger brother, Caleb, in tow. Caleb shot me a look that was pure contempt. Seriously, Amelia? You actually let him come to the office? And he's your special assistant? This is a joke. Amelia ignored him and walked straight to my desk. There's a charity gala tonight. You're coming with me. 100 different excuses flashed through my mind. A gala? God, no. Another one of those boring, stuffy events where a bunch of rich people stand around drinking champagne and lying to each other. Hard pass. I was about to politely decline when Caleb spoke up again. Why are you taking him? Do you want to embarrass the Hayes family even more? He pointed at me, his lip curled in a sneer. Look at him. He's not fit to be seen in public. My suit, while expensive, was rumpled from a day of dedicated slouching. Paired with my general air of indifference, I certainly didn't scream corporate elite. I sighed internally. Great, another one. This kid is obviously a spoiled brat who's never worked a day in his life. Thinks the world revolves around his sports cars and trust fund. He's right about one thing, though. I have no business being at a place like that. My only job is to stay out of the way. I should just agree with him. I clear my throat, ready to make my exit. But Amelia's voice cut through the air, sharp as glass. Caleb, apologize to him. Caleb stared at her. What? You want me to apologize to him? For what? Because he is my husband, which makes him your brother-in-law, Amelia said, her eyes flashing. Your insults aren't just directed at him. They're an insult to me and to this entire family. Apologize. Now. Caleb, stunned by his sister's ferocity, mumbled a reluctant sorry. I quickly waved it off. It's fine, it's fine. Caleb's just looking out for you. The more gracious I acted, the more Caleb was convinced I was a phony. Amelia, of course, heard my real thoughts. Why are you making him apologize? He was doing me a favor. If he just kept insulting me, I'd be free to go back to my lunch order. Ooh, this place has a half-price special on fatty tuna. A vein pulsed in Amelia's temple. She was finding it increasingly difficult to control her emotions around this man. He had a unique talent for making her oscillate between incandescent rage and helpless amusement. The gala is not up for discussion, she commanded. Sarah will take you to get a tuxedo this afternoon. Try not to embarrass me. With that, she dragged the still fuming Caleb out of my office. I stared at their retreating backs, my heart filled with sorrow. My sushi, my half-priced fatty tuna, flown away. The charity gala was held in the grand ballroom of a 6-star hotel. I felt like a stuffed sausage in the tuxedo Sarah had forced me into. This thing is so tight, I can barely breathe. My $100 t-shirt is 10 times more comfortable. I'll never understand the world of the rich. Amelia took my arm, and our entrance immediately turned every head in the room. Her in a stunning, minimalist gown, me looking like a slightly uncomfortable penguin. We made a striking, if odd, couple. Isn't that Amelia Hayes? Who's the guy with her? I think that's her husband. The one who married in. What's he doing here? And she's actually on his arm. The whispers were just loud enough for me to hear. I had thick skin. I didn't care. Amelia, however, stiffened, her grip on my arm tightening. Oh, get a little territorial, are we? Don't worry. Nobody's trying to steal me from you. In fact, I'd be happy to pack my bags as soon as you write the check. Amelia faltered for a step, nearly tripping on her own gown. She took a deep breath, forcing down the sudden urge to throttle me. Patience. For the sake of the Astoria project. For the future of the company. I must endure. The event's host, a prominent real estate developer named Mr. Henderson, spotted us and bustled over, champagne flute in hand. Amelia, so glad you could make it. You light up the room. Mr. Henderson, you're too kind, Amelia replied coolly. His eyes shifted to me, full of curiosity. And this is my husband, Jack Carr, Amelia said. Mr. Carr, a pleasure, Henderson said, clinking his glass against mine. I smiled inwardly. A pleasure, my ass. I know what you're thinking. So this is the legendary kept husband. Looks presentable enough, I guess. I was right, of course, but Henderson's face was a mask of professional warmth. After a few moments of meaningless small talk, he got to the point. Amelia, I hear you're redeveloping the Astoria property into a commercial space? Your sources are well informed, she said noncommittally. My dear, that's a risky move, Henderson said, feigning concern. Brick and mortar is a dying business. Look, I'm interested in that property. I'll give you $300 million. Take the whole problem off your hands. What do you say? I almost laughed out loud. Another one. A few days ago, it was Leo Vance at 210. Now, this guy is up to 300. The news about the new tech campus must be starting to leak among the inner circle. This Henderson is even greedier than Vance, though. Vance was trying to get a steal. This guy is a straight-up vulture. 300 million for what's going to be one of the most valuable pieces of real estate in the city? He must think we're idiots. If Amelia agrees to this, she's not just young, she's brain-dead. Amelia swirled the champagne in her glass, her face unreadable. She was waiting for the but that she knew was coming from my internal monologue. And right on cue, it arrived. Still, this old fox could be useful. He owns a portfolio of construction supply companies, doesn't he? The Astoria renovation is going to require a massive amount of raw materials. If she could get him to provide them at cost, she could save 50 million. Easy. So how do you get him to play ball? I've got it. He's currently in a bidding war for that parcel of land south of the city, isn't he? That land is a lemon. There are unmapped sinkholes under the entire plot from an old subway project. The soil is completely unstable. You could never build a skyscraper on it. The city's geological surveys are outdated, so they don't even know. If this old shark wins that bid, he's going to lose his shirt. Leak that information to him. In exchange, he provides materials for Astoria at cost. A fair trade. My mental abacus clattered away. Amelia's eyes lit up. She turned to Mr. Henderson, a slow, knowing smile spreading across her face. Mr. Henderson, the project is not for sale. However, I might be interested in a different kind of deal. She leaned in and whispered a few sentences in his ear. I watched Henderson's expression shift from greed to shock, then to horror, and finally, to profound gratitude. He grabbed Amelia's hand, his voice shaking. Amelia, is what you said true? Believe it or not, she said, pulling her hand away gracefully. I believe you. Of course, I believe you. Henderson was practically bowing. Amelia, you've saved me. I am forever in your debt. The materials for the Astoria project, consider it done. All it cost. No, you know what? Take another 20% off. A gift. The onlookers were baffled. No one could understand what Amelia had said to make the notoriously ruthless developer fold so completely and even offer up his own money. Only Amelia knew. She raised her glass and gave me a subtle nod from across the room. Her eyes held a glint of amusement. Was that a challenge? I was completely lost. What's she smiling at me for? To thank me for coming? Seems a little much. Whatever. I think they just put out the roast pig at the buffet. I set my glass down and made a beeline for the food. I left behind a crowd of stunned socialites and a woman who watched me go with a look of exasperated fondness. After the gala, Amelia's tolerance for my working from home at the office routine reached new heights. I could have been sleeping on my desk, and she wouldn't have said a word. The office gossip about me also took a definitive turn. I was no longer the useless husband, but the shadow advisor. The consensus was that my apparent laziness was a form of deep strategic meditation, a way for me to advise the CEO that was beyond the comprehension of mere mortals. I remained blissfully unaware. My only concern was that the quality of the office snacks had improved dramatically. The afternoon fruit platter was now a catered dessert bar from a 5-star hotel. Even the tea bags in my office have been replaced with some ridiculously expensive hand-rolled oolong. The classic corporate honey trap. They think they can bribe me with fancy pastries into actually working. Not a chance. This tiramisu is pretty good, though. I reaffirmed my commitment to doing nothing while enjoying a slice of cake. One afternoon, Amelia's father, the chairman of the board, Robert Hayes, called an emergency board meeting. I walked in with Amelia. Robert sat at the head of the table, his face a thundercloud. He didn't even glance at me, focusing all his anger on his daughter. Amelia, I hear you've completely changed the plan for the Astoria project. Yes, father. This is madness, he boomed, slamming his hand on the table. Do you have any idea how foolish this is? The retail sector is collapsing, and you want to pour more money into it? This company cannot afford your reckless gambling. An older board member chimed in. He's right, Amelia. Our recommendation is to sell the project immediately and cut our losses. Another added, Leo Vance and Mr. Henderson have both submitted written offers. The prices are fair. We should seriously consider them. Amelia stood alone in the center of the storm. I sat in my usual corner, sipping tea, enjoying the show. This whole room is full of dinosaurs. They can only see the short-term loss, not the long-term gain. Robert's getting old. He's lost his nerve. If he'd been this timid in his prime, Hayes Industries would have never gotten off the ground. But I can't blame them entirely. Amelia's plan, brilliant as it is, does have one fatal flaw. In the boardroom, Amelia was fighting back, but her arguments weren't convincing these old sharks. Robert's face grew darker. I am officially freezing all work on the Astoria redevelopment. We will hold a shareholder vote next week to decide on the sale of the asset. It was an ultimatum. Amelia swayed slightly, the color draining from her face. She knew that with her current minority stake, a shareholder vote would mean the project would be sold. All her work would be for nothing. The board members who supported the sale looked smug. Amelia's allies looked worried. And I just kept sipping my tea. The fatal flaw. What is it? Amelia's ears practically perked up. She knew, in this critical moment, her only hope was her freelance consultant. The problem with the plan is that it lacks a spark. A main attraction. A commercial center. A family park. Great concepts. But why would people choose to come to your place on opening day? What's your unique selling proposition? It's missing an IP. A powerful, established intellectual property. For instance, partner with a major animation studio. Get the rights to their most popular character and build a theme park around it. Or bring in a world-famous art installation, like that Team Lab digital art show. With a famous IP, you get guaranteed foot traffic. With foot traffic, how can you not make money? It's a shame Amelia is still too green. Her business instincts are 100,000 miles behind mine. I was mentally patting myself on the back when Amelia's clear, steady voice cut through the tension in the room. Father, members of the board, there is one core element of our strategy that I have yet to share. All eyes turned to her. Amelia walked to the whiteboard, picked up a marker, and wrote 2 letters. IP. What we're missing isn't the right location or the right funding. It's the right intellectual property. She took my internal monologue and, weaving in her own analysis, laid out a masterful vision. She talked about the power of IP to drive traffic, named specific potential partners, and projected the overwhelming market response. Once again, the room fell silent. The anger on Robert Hayes's face slowly melted into astonishment. The smug looks on the other board members' faces froze. They looked at the grand, imaginative business plan on the whiteboard and were utterly speechless. They realized, perhaps for the first time, that they were old. The granddaughter they had always dismissed had grown beyond them. This IP partnership, Robert finally said, his voice heavy. What are your chances of success? 100%, Amelia replied, without a hint of hesitation. She had no idea what her chances were, but she knew that as long as the man in the office next door was still around, her chances were 100%. Robert looked at his daughter's unshakable confidence and finally sighed. Fine, I'll give you one more chance. The shareholder vote is canceled, but I want to see a signed contract with an IP partner within 1 month. Otherwise, you can clear out your desk. The crisis was averted. Walking out of the conference room, Amelia's back was soaked with sweat. She paused outside my office door, then pushed it open. I was leaning back in my chair, my eyes closed. God, that was exhausting, and I didn't even say anything. All that arguing gives me a headache. The lazy life is the only life for me. Jack! I opened my eyes. Amelia was standing in front of me. Her expression was a mix of gratitude, curiosity, and something else I couldn't quite decipher. Thank you, she said softly. I blinked. Thank me? For what? For my expert-level napping? I quickly put on a bewildered expression. Amelia, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything. You did, she said, her eyes locked on mine. You did more than enough. My stomach dropped. She knows. She knows I was listening. She knows I was mentally roasting her entire board of directors. This is it. She's going to have me whacked. I have to deny everything. I didn't. I yelped, jumping out of my chair. I was asleep. I didn't hear a thing. What's an IP? Team Lab? Never heard of it. The words were out of my mouth before I could stop them. The office fell into a dead silence. Amelia just stood there, watching me, her gaze growing deeper and more intense by the second. I wanted to hit myself. I had basically just confessed. I was done for. My life, as a freeloader, my grand retirement plan, it was all over. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the explosion. But what came was not a shout, but a soft, breathy laugh. I opened my eyes and saw something I would never forget. Amelia was smiling. Not her corporate empty smile, not her cold, mocking smirk. A genuine, honest-to-God smile, like ice melting in the spring sun. She looked at my panicked, guilty face and found it both infuriating and hilarious. This man, who possessed the intellect to build empires, wanted nothing more than to be left alone to live his lazy, simple life. She used to find it baffling. Now she found it kind of endearing. "I never said you knew anything," she said, her smile fading back into her usual cool composure. "I just came to tell you to pack a bag. We're going to Japan tomorrow." "Japan? For what?" I asked instinctively. "To negotiate the partnership with TeamLab." I stared at her, speechless. I felt like a rabbit caught in the crosshairs of a master hunter. No matter how I twisted or turned, I couldn't escape. "Fine. A free trip to Japan. I guess I can think of it as a company-sponsored vacation," I thought with a sigh of resignation. Amelia heard me, and the corner of her mouth twitched upward again. She was beginning to realize that teasing this man was quickly becoming her new favorite hobby. The next day, I was on a private jet to Tokyo with Amelia and her team. In my previous life, I'd spent half my time on private jets, but I'd never felt so conflicted. All I want is to be a useless bum. Why is it so hard? I leaned against the soft leather seat, staring at the clouds, questioning the universe. Amelia sat across from me, studying a file on TeamLab. She was dressed down in a sweater and jeans, and without the armor of her corporate uniform, she looked younger, softer. You know, when she's not dressed like a corporate shogun, she's actually kind of beautiful. The thought had barely formed when I saw Amelia's face flush a bright, unmistakable crimson. She snapped her head down, hiding her face behind the file. I blinked, confused. What's she blushing for? Is it too hot in here? Amelia buried her face deeper into the documents, her ears now glowing pink. For the first time, hearing a man's thoughts had made her heart race. When we arrived in Tokyo, we went straight to TeamLab's headquarters. The negotiations were brutal. As one of the world's premier art collectives, their standards were impossibly high. The lead negotiator, a proud man named Watanabe, was completely unimpressed with our proposal. "Ms. Hayes, I appreciate your interest, but our schedule is booked solid for the next 3 years. We have no immediate plans for a large-scale project in the Chinese market." His words were polite, but the rejection was absolute. Amelia's team presented one pitch after another, and Watanabe shot every one of them down. The meeting stalled. I had already pulled out my phone and was searching for the best ramen shops nearby. This guy is a brick wall. Amelia's too young. She doesn't get it. You can't lead with money and market share when you're talking to an artist. It's tacky. You have to talk about vision. Legacy. You have to make him believe you're not just doing a deal. You're co-creating a masterpiece. You could tell him you want to use his digital art to recreate the splendor of the Tang dynasty in an ancient Chinese capital. You want to let children touch history through technology. And what about his hobbies? He's an avid rock climber, isn't he? Tell him you'll build the largest indoor climbing gym in Asia right next to the project and make him the honorary lifetime chairman. It's simple psychology. Find a person's passion and appeal to it. I was in the middle of my silent lecture when Amelia suddenly stood up. She gave Watanabe a deep, respectful bow. "Mr. Watanabe, please give me 5 more minutes." She didn't mention money again. Instead, she started telling a story about her reverence for art and her dream of using technology to bring history to life. She spoke with a passion and a light in her eyes I had never seen before. Then, she changed tactics. "I also understand, Mr. Watanabe, that you are a passionate rock climber. It's a sport I deeply admire. As part of the Astoria project, we are planning to build the largest indoor climbing facility in Asia. We would be honored if you would accept the position of lifetime honorary chairman." The arrogant mask on Watanabe's face melted away. He looked at Amelia with pure shock, as if he'd just found a kindred spirit. "Ms. Hayes, how did you know I was a climber?" A person who respects art as you do must also have a desire to conquer the beauty of nature, Amelia said, the lie flowing from her lips as smoothly as water. In reality, she'd plucked the information straight from my head. Watanabe was completely charmed. His entire demeanor changed. "Ms. Hayes, you are a true patron of the arts," he said, extending his hand. "Let's discuss the details of our partnership." And just like that, The deal was done. On the way back to the hotel, Sarah and the team were still buzzing, marveling at Amelia's genius. Only Amelia was quiet. Her gaze was fixed on the man beside her, who had already fallen asleep. His head was resting against the window, his long eyelashes casting shadows on his cheeks in the afternoon sun. He looked so peaceful, so harmless. Who would ever guess that this harmless-looking man had, time and again, turned her entire world upside down? Amelia reached out, her fingers hesitating an inch from his face, wanting to gently move his head to a more comfortable position. But just before she touched him, she pulled her hand back as if she'd been burned. Her heart was a mess. Back in New York, the news of the Team Lab partnership sent Hayes Industries stock soaring. The Astoria waterfront project went from being a toxic asset to the most talked-about development in the country. At the next board meeting, Robert Hayes, for the first time in his life, publicly praised his daughter. Amelia's authority in the company was now absolute. And me, the secret architect of it all, was back in my office, facing my biggest daily challenge, deciding on lunch. One day, I got a call from an unexpected source. It was my mother-in-law. "Jack, dear, come home for dinner tonight. I had the cook make your favorite brisket." Her voice was so warm and friendly, it was unsettling. She had never been anything but coldly polite to me before. An invitation from the Queen Mother herself? This has to be a trap. It's a setup. 100%. Either she's going to offer me money to leave Amelia, or she's going to warn me to stay in my lane. Despite my suspicions, I accepted graciously. "Of course, Mom. I'll be there." That evening, I went with Amelia to the Hayes family mansion. The whole clan was there. Robert, my mother-in-law, my sneering brother-in-law Caleb, and a few other assorted relatives. Dinner was awkward. My mother-in-law kept piling brisket onto my plate. "Eat up, Jack. You're too thin." I looked at the mountain of meat in front of me, my stomach groaning in protest. Is she trying to kill me with cholesterol? Even Robert was being friendly. "Jack, Amelia tells me you studied finance." My internal alarms went off. Here we go. The pop quiz. I shook my head. "Oh, that was a lifetime ago, Dad. I've forgotten everything." "Is that so?" Robert said with a sly smile. "I've been looking at a stock lately. East Tech Ventures. What do you think?" My blood ran cold. East Tech Ventures? I buried that company myself in my last life. On the surface, it's a high-flying tech investment firm. In reality, it's a house of cards built on a Ponzi scheme. All of its investments are fake. The whole thing is going to collapse in less than a month. Anyone holding the stock will be wiped out. The old fox is testing me. If I say it's a good buy, he'll know I'm an idiot. If I say it's a bad buy, he'll demand to know why. How do I get out of this? My mind was racing, but I kept my expression placidly blank. "I really don't know anything about stocks, Dad. You're asking the wrong guy." I picked up my fork and took a bite of brisket. This is actually amazing. Perfectly cooked. The cook deserves a raise. I focused all my mental energy on the food, trying to block out any thoughts about the stock. Robert watched me, a flicker of disappointment in his eyes. He'd overestimated his son-in-law after all. Amelia's recent successes must have just been a lucky streak. Next to me, Amelia let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Her palms had been sweating. She was terrified I might accidentally expose what I knew about East Tech. Because she knew, too. She had heard my thoughts, and she had already taken out a massive short position against the stock. When it collapsed, she stood to make a fortune, giving her company the cash infusion it so desperately needed. It was our secret, a secret only she was aware of. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur of strained conversation. The car ride home was quiet. I stared out the window at the city lights, my mind drifting back to my master plan. Amelia's career is on fire now. She doesn't really need me anymore, right? Once the Astoria project breaks ground, I'll ask for a divorce again. She won't say no this time, and I won't ask for stock. Just cash. 10 million? No, 50 million. She can definitely afford it now. I was lost in a pleasant daydream about my future life of leisure. Then, Amelia's voice, soft and quiet, cut through the silence. "Jack." "Yeah." "What if we don't get divorced?" Her voice was barely a whisper, laced with a nervousness I had never heard before, and a sliver of hope. I froze. I turned to look at her. The passing streetlights played across her face, casting shifting shadows. Her eyes, which I had only ever known as cold and distant, were looking at me with a startling, tenderness. And for the first time in this life, or the last one, my heart skipped a beat. And